Hello, we're back for a little bit more VOD review. So I actually decided I didn't like the last format, for anyone wondering, and so today we are going to be just doing a straight up VOD review. I think this is probably what we'll do moving forward. Just kind of looking at a game that I thought was kind of interesting. I think the big things to talk about this game are going to be, so there's a weird line we take, which is a good one to know just in case you ever get offered Artifact Anvil, but also we want to talk about how to cap out a board and how to win a game from a spot where the game is like, hard but doable. So we can jump right into it. This game was a couple days ago, I think. It's a thing that I don't think you'll have a spot for super often. But again, if you ever get offered Artifact Anvil, it's like an important thing. Like maybe one in every, 10, probably not 10, like one every 20 games. If you are aware of this, it can help to climb. And a lot of climbing can be just being aware of fringe things here and there, right? Okay. So first off, you can see that, we have an Alistair. I think Alistair's probably the strongest unit in the game right now, as far as like stage 2 units. Alistair and Mundo, both, like the Bruisers are just both pretty cracked after the recent buffs. So if you ever see Alistairs and Mundo, it's probably not a bad idea to hold on to them. Generally speaking, I think when you're on Vi Portal and you have these two extra items, be more willing to play around the units rather than the items that you're getting dropped, because it's pretty easy to slam stuff no matter what. So you see, we always hold Alistairs here. Actually, we can even like speed it up. I think what we'll probably do is, and this is what I do generally with coaching stuff, is we'll probably look to be on 2x speed for a lot of the game, and then like really pause and talk about some of the decision making points, particularly like leveling intervals like 3-2, 2-5. 4-1, 4-2, 4-5, etc., as well as like augment collection, and just talk about that stuff, because I think that's what's way more interesting than watching a bunch of fights we don't need to watch, really. So I think we will like probably 2x speed this. And this is just effective VOD reviewing in general, for anyone wondering. If you want to get a lot better at VOD reviewing more consistently, or make it like less of a painful process, just get to the points in the game where you actually make decisions. I think the most important points in the game will pretty much always be stage 2, or rather stage 1, early stage 2, and then again, anytime you're selecting an augment or slamming an item. Stage 1 in particular is super important because you see I have Neferi in my team planner just to always check the EXO. Stage 1 is particularly important because there's such a butterfly effect, right? Knowing what to take on stage 1 is super important. And so here, right, because normally you'd be like, okay, well, Jax pair is probably I think I should end up taking Jax pair. In this situation, we see what I do. I'm pretty sure I end up selling Yuumi, right? I end up not selling Yuumi. I think about it. Okay, so the idea behind that stage 1, or that situation there in stage 1 and selling Yuumi, is that generally speaking, when you have something like double item anvil, it's really not too bad of an idea to play more so around whatever units you're high rolling rather than items. I think generally speaking, I have like a hierarchy, I would say, of priority for resources in my mind, where like augments are the most important resource. You should always play around your augment, and then it's items, and then it's units, right? Because it's easiest to change your units. You can just buy new units. Items are a little bit more malleable than unit, or than a little less malleable than units. More malleable than augments, obviously, in that like you can turn a sword into a couple different items. Well, more than a couple, but you know what I mean. And then as far as augments go, like once you have an augment, you're just locked into that augment, right? And I think that's an important hierarchy to keep in mind, but it's also really important to make sure that things are matching, right? That what you have actually is being used well by the other resources you have at your disposal. So for example, like on 2-1, you can certainly take, if an augment is broken, you can certainly take it and hard force a board. But if you don't have a lot of, if there's something that's like, sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. If there's something that's like, you're in a spot where there's nothing crazy broken, and you just want to make sure that you have a decent start to your game, then you want to be matching resources. So take an augment that makes your items and your units feel good, right? It's about making the game easier for yourself, and that's what that does. Maybe we'll have an example of that in a second here. But so for example, like Yuumi, we can go back a second. So this is a decision between Yuumi and Jax pair, right? Normally speaking, I would say, Jax pair is pretty good, and so you want to be able to play around it if you end up 2-starring it. But what I'm saying here, and I think this is an important thing to be able to do too, again, we were talking about unit quality. I know that I have Alistair pair, you know that I have Alistair pair, and Alistair 2 is infinitely better than Jax 2 right now, right? I also have this Rengar, and I have this Mundo. Obviously, there's a lot of ins between Yuumi and Street Demon, because you can have, like, the Echo into, like, a strategist opener with it. Yuumi's also just a good unit to have in your backline in general. And so I don't want to sell Rengar because I want to make sure that I can play Street Demon if I get offered some kind of Street Demon-oriented resource, right? But I also want to make sure that I'm pulling this Yuumi over the Jax pair, because I already have good frontline potentially in the Alistar pair, and if I want to make sure I have a good stage 2, I'm going to need some kind of damage. And because I have these 2 item anvils, normally once I get dropped sword, right, once I get dropped sword here, it'd be really hard to play around Yuumi, but it's actually really easy to play around Yuumi still, because these item anvils exist. And so they should be changing your stage 2 quite a bit, or your stage 1 rather, quite a bit, because, you know, like, what normally would be like a really awkward situation to play Yuumi because you don't have any tiers. This could be, one, just be like double tier, or two, it could be like Shojin Morello, it could be like Guard Breaker Shojin, it could be like tank item plus Shojin, it could be GS plus, you probably don't make GS on stage 2, but that is to say that, like, these are a lot less damning because this exists. And that hierarchy that I was talking about of, like, augments are the least malleable and units are the most malleable can definitely change a little bit in situations like this, where my items are actually a little bit more malleable than my units now, right, because this portal exists. And so that's just a good thing to keep in mind when you're deciding what you want to do, is just think a lot about, like, what is the easiest thing for you to play around, or to switch up on the fly and to match to other things you're high rolling, and then, you know, how portals and such affect that. Okay, so anyways, you have Shyvana pair. Shyvana pair is super hard to hit. It's, like, kind of hard to play without any Nitro units. So I ended up not picking it up, I'm pretty sure. And I'm, like, just committed to playing around. Oh, I did pick it up, okay. But I ended up selling, I think I sell Yuumi. Interesting. Oh, is it because I have this Morgana in shop? That makes sense. So, I'm sorry, I haven't watched this game in a couple of days. So, similarly to what I was saying before, like, you just want to make sure you have some kind of backline with these versions. You want the thing that fits in best, and it's actually way easier to play Morgana with these frontliners than it is the Yuumi, because one, Morgana is just cracked right now. I would say Yuumi is also very good, but Morgana is, like, just better at holding stuff like Red Buff and Morellos, which are, like, easy slams on stage 2. And she also is just, like, a hell of a lot cheaper. And if I do hit Shyvana 2, I'm almost always willing to play Naafiri from this spot. Again, I want to keep that Rengar because Street Demon is so strong, but I also want to be able to say if I hit, like, a Kindred Nidalee shop, that I'm willing to, like, play towards Naafiri here. And so Morgana is kind of just a cheaper Yuumi at the end of the day. And by selling the Yuumi to hold the Morgana, I obviously am able to pick up the Shyvana pair as well, and have, like, even more outs while still maintaining my primary out, which I would say is probably this. With the Shyvana pair, it actually is probably, like, I'm leaning a little bit more towards whatchamacallit, a little bit more towards Naafiri, like, with Sword and, like, half a Even Shroud, or half a GA slash IE, bow can be red buff, etc. So, you know, even leaning Naafiri, though, I actually don't care about Yuumi too much. Trial Run, so we can talk about augments a bit. So I know in this spot, I reroll Trial Run immediately. Trial Run is really awkward. You can't play it for Naafiri reroll. I still like the Nitro version more than the like, strategist version of Naafiri, which is why, again, I don't prio Yuumi there. And it's just an awkward... Exotech is really weird right now, and, like, vertical Exotech is, because Zeri's not great. And then looking at BRB, I mean, BRB is cool. I feel like I have more of an into stage 2 than this, though, and so I don't really like BRB. You know, I have this Alistar pair, I have a Mundo, which means that, on average, I'll probably be a little bit stronger in general than other people. And then the cool thing about Portal Forge here is that, so Portal Forge is really interesting right now in that there's a lot of, like, clear direction you can get from it, but also a lot of, like, tempo plays. So, for example, if you have, like, Vi pair or Vi 2, and you hit Unending Despair from Portal Forge, it's a really, really powerful augment. You know, she just, like, you'll be on a 10 streak because she just uses that super well. Obviously, Portable Forge, mostly, I think people click because they're looking for some kind of fiddle line, which, you know, here I have Bruisers, so I think looking for the fiddle line is pretty good. I can also take Cutlass and play Naafiri. I talked about how I don't love Cutlass Naafiri, even though it's really good in the stats, but it's still playable, for sure, from a spot like this. And yeah, just, I think Portable Forge, while it certainly narrows down direction quite a bit, which can be a bad thing, right? Breadth of play narrows. It's going to be a really, really potent resource no matter what. And so there's this kind of give and take with augments, right? Where, generally speaking, like, the most powerful augments take something away as well. And so I think a good example of this is emblem augments, right? And so if you think about emblem augments, essentially when you take an emblem augment that says like, hey, you're Exotech +1, you're now hard committed to Exotech, right? When that's the downside of something like that. But it's a lot of power in a lot of power to get at the same time. And so a lot of augments are balanced around that. You kind of think of like Cursed Crown being an augment, right? Where you take double damage but you get 2 fawns. I think you can kind of see that break a bit and when you have the emblem golem portal where like you just have a wandering trainer dummy and you have 3 emblems and then you get offered an emblem for one of those synergies, and then because you were already hard committed to that synergy, now there's no downside to taking this resource and you just see those augments go crazy. So that, there's a give and take most of the time, and then the best augments are ones where like you're taking a lot without giving much, right? And that's like those emblem augments on something like if I'm already hard committed Syndicate and I get Syndicate emblem, then that's a lot of take, not a lot of give, which is what you want. And so I think Portable Forge here is kind of just like the most. It gives the most without taking anything, I think. So gold for dummies, obviously you can just you could play more open. If I was gonna do that, I think I'd probably just take BRB because BRB gives me some extra gold anyways. Then it's just a little bit more powerful. After a few rounds, but BRB and Gold for Dummies both have this downside of not being able to play the game for a little bit. And obviously I don't have the best board right now, but I know I have Alistair Pair, I know I have Morgana, I know I have Mundo, so I can play a really good board potentially. I think I'll probably look around too. We can, I imagine I end up re-rolling everything there because I don't like the items. And then Portable Forge, it's also double Mundo shop, holy. Portable Forge is just one of those augments in this spot where I'm already playing around a pretty light opener. If I want to hard force something, I can from this spot, something that's really busted with a artifact like Neferi with Cutlass, or Fiddle with I think Fiddle with snipers, Fiddle with Lighting Jewel are good options always. You have this. I have this Rengar, so I can play Silvermere. So basically, in this situation, I'm kind of holding all the pieces of pretty much every board that wants artifacts, right? I have a Rengar, I have a Shyvana pair for playing around Nitro Neferi, and I also have Bruisers to play around the Bruiser stuff. So pretty much no matter what, I'll get something that matches my opener, and then I can just kind of sell the rest of it and play pretty light. So we end up taking it. So there's a couple ways to go. So this is kind of a stats Andy moment, but Death's Defiance is really bad on Rengar. Don't go set Death's Defiance Rengar. So immediately you're like, okay, well I don't see anything for Rengar. I don't see anything for Neferi really. You could go Infinity Force or Death's Defiance on Neferi, but it's a little bit more suspicious. It's not. Basically, it wouldn't do much now until I got to the Neferi, and then it would be good. But you lose a lot of value. And I've already just seen this double Mundo in my shop, right? And so in my mind, I think there's something that makes a lot of sense here. And going back to that idea of augments, you want to make sure that you're taking as much as possible and giving as little as possible. Taking an augment that doesn't spike you till later is giving something up, right? Think of Econ augments. You don't get power now, but you get power later. Same thing applies to any augment you take. And so in this situation, I want something that makes my board significantly stronger immediately. And there's a pretty clear take here that also, generally speaking, works pretty well in any kind of Bruiser setup, which is Talisman of Ascension. So this item is, I think, pretty hard to play around a lot of the time because you need a very specific fight to make it work. But when it works, it goes crazy. And so because I know I have Mundo pair in shop, I'm very, very willing to take this. Generally speaking, and actually we'll talk about these slams because these are interesting slams. So generally speaking, right, when people take artifacts like this, they have a very clear idea of what they want to play in mind. So for example, people wouldn't make Sterak's here because they think, okay, well I have a Talisman Ascension, I'm going to play Cho'Gath. Well, if you just instead say I have Talisman Ascension, I'm going to play Mundo, and then that eventually gets you to Cho'Gath, you'll have a much smoother game, because instead of hard greeting tank items for Cho'Gath, I'm just building an item that's incredibly good on Mundo here, right? The Sterak's on Mundo is going to be absolutely insane for a very, spoiler, for a very, very long time this game. And then I end up taking Tier to look for Redemption immediately, because Redemption is good no matter what. And surely this can become a Cho'Gath, right? But it's really important to make sure that you're not playing Cho'Gath because you have this Ascension Gem now. You're playing Mundo because you have the Ascension Gem now, and you're itemizing Mundo and making him as strong as possible, and that lets you naturally transition into something else that also uses the resources Mundo was using, right? So in that situation, it'd be get pivoting into Cho'Gath. And it's definitely important to keep in mind what is pivotable at all in a situation like that, right? You want to be able to say, okay, well, I'm gonna do this. In this situation, I know that I potentially am playing around Vertical Bruiser Cho'Gath, right? Does not mean that I will not make the Mundo item though, even though this item is much better on Mundo than it is on Cho'Gath, but I will get spoiler, I will streak a lot because I made this for Cho'Gath or for Mundo rather than trying to make Cho'Gath items. If I made, like just redemption or greeted items to look for like, best in slot, super defensive item Cho'Gath, I think this game gets a lot differently. So basically, we're looking for items for Mundo in particular. We get redemption, we get Sterak's, and so this Mundo, he is a demon immediately. So we can watch some fights on stage 2. They all look pretty good. Actually, I definitely should have scouted. We are going to talk about things I do wrong, by the way, as well, because I do a fair amount wrong in this game. I should have scouted before I clicked anything. Just generally speaking, like, it is really important to make sure that you are looking around at what people are doing. I think this is like one of my first games of the day, and I was super exhausted. But I have you can't see this. I actually have a Peepo cam on for the day. You can see there because I'm sick. I actually still am a little bit sick, but I was very sick this day. Still no excuse. I mean, I should have scouted. You should be scouting in your games before you make decisions. It's a very important thing to do. But this is an interesting point to make in regards to the idea of slamming things for what you have now, not for what you want to get to. As you can see, he has 9,000 HP. Holy shit. I mean, look at the numbers, right? He just ulted that guy. He did 5,954 damage. Holy crap. But because I'm playing around Mundo, not playing around Cho'Gath, being tested Bruiser is a lot less worrying for me because I already have what I need, right? It's fine. I'm thinking here maybe I could reroll Mundo. I'm leaving stuff open. I'm setting up for a potential Street Demon angle, like 3 Street Demon with this Echo. Generally speaking, if you want to reroll Mundo, you would hold on to Morgana. I know I don't have items for this game, so I'm probably just gonna play tempo, and that's fine. I mean, in all these fights, you can see the Sterak's diff, right? Sterak's is just making sure he gets to his ascension, and then when he gets there, he does so much damage that every fight is just, like, so unwinnable for anyone else. Sorry, I'm me sniffling a little bit in this video. I'll try to keep it to a minimum, though. I do end up picking up the Morgana again, just have another Bruiser, just making sure I have enough front line to get to the ascension, and, like, these stage 2 fights are so satisfying. This Mundo is just going absolutely insane. You can see me zooming in as well. Like, look at this guy go, man. He's so strong. He flexes his pecs like a demon. What a beast. But yeah, so the idea behind this whole thing, right? In terms of like building a win condition, we know very easily, as soon as we take a Talisman of Ascension, we know that we just want to make the fight long. So pretty much every item I take is going to be something that tries to make the fight long. I have to kill Bo first, so I end up making a red buff here, which is just a generically pretty good item. But ideally, I would, every item I make would just get the fight longer and longer and longer. And a lot of resources this game will go into that concept, right? Just playing the Shaco to get 2 Slayer. This board is all about Mundo. Morg uses the red buff a lot better, but it doesn't matter. And like these fights are pretty easy. Ended up selling the Echo there, which means we get punished a bit here and don't get to play Street Demon, but that's okay because no one's beating us on this stage anyways with this setup. Our Mundo is basically impossible to kill. And so if you have like Mundo with this item, it is so hard to not win fights on stage 2. Okay, so you can see items we get. We end up getting some slightly weird items. So I end up going Rageblade here. I have in mind that I can play around Slayer potentially this game. I have in mind that I can play around a long fight. And so Rageblade is just a natural way to kill 2 items that I don't want while still playing into the idea, rather I'll get rewarded more for making a longer fight, right? And so a lot of decision making with items this game is going to come from the idea of I want to make a long fight, and so I need to make sure that I'm killing things that prevent me from having a long fight and leading into things that let me have a longer fight. And you'll see that in this 3-2 augment pick. But, Rageblade is another payoff, basically. And, we need to make sure this cloak turns into a way to capitalize on that payoff. Way to actually stand the fight. But, oh my god, look at this guy, dude. Holy. Okay, so we've seen these augments here. We're going to slow it down for the augment selection, actually, because probably just a little bit useful. So you have calculated enhancement, coordination, sponging. And so, again, talking about the idea of a longer fight, calculated enhancement is already out the window. Coordination is pretty much out the window because they're both just like, they're not making the fight any longer, right? So in my mind, I'm committed to rerolling both of these. I do them both at the same time. Pandora's items, if you get like Great Redemption, it's pretty insane. Slayer, Circlet, totally worthless here, I would say. But sponging. So sponging is an augment that I think you almost only ever see in Bruisers. If you ever have seen anyone click it at all. But it's a really cool augment for extending fights when you have something like some kind of support item slammed. And so in this situation, something I have slammed critically is Redemption. And so because I have Sponging Redemption now, I get to have so many redemptions. You see, I'm going to use this remover on Mundo. I don't know why I did this, because it only is going to win me one extra fight, and I'm going to win the fight anyways. But basically, what I'm trying to do here is make sure that Mundo... oh, sorry, I remember why I do this now. I have to put it on someone else to get the smudging effect. Never mind. I'm just crazy. I'm just 5 Bruiser because I just want more frontline. Damage will come just naturally. So I do wait to slam the Sterix on this guy until he gets his redemption from sponging, because as long as he has 1 item, he'll get an item from sponging. Once he gets 2 items, then he won't. And so everyone gets a redemption. You know, how do you kill this board now, right? I have 5 redemptions. I have 5 redemptions, and it is very hard to do anything about that. And so a lot of the stage, you know, now we're giving some Sterix around, because like positioning here is hard to give redemption, and Sterix is actually going to do a somewhat similar thing with his Bruiser HP to make everything tankier. Not quite as good, but the stage of the game doesn't matter too much. I'll run into a lot of problems later with trying to position this. I just end up leveling, you know, I get a little bit stronger, but mostly it's just for shop odds, I would say. And then I experiment a bit here with trying to trap the Mundo, because this is actually my first time playing this as well. It looks worse trapped, to be honest. I mean, look at this fight, though. He doesn't do anything the entire fight, right? It's the end of the fight, he ascends, and then check the damage meter at the end. Boom. This is Mundo 2, by the way. Oh, am I gonna... I didn't even follow him with the camera. He did do the top DPS, though, even while being trapped the entire fight. And so Mundo 2, I mean, this is the 2-star 1 cost, just absolutely holding down the fort. And I'm not getting it off of this guy for a very long time, just because he uses these resources so well. I end up trying to like do some weird positioning thing to get as many redemptions as possible. So here I get 4 redemptions because I position like this. It didn't feel right. Like, cornering this guy is not correct, so don't do that. You still, I mean, look at the end of this fight. Like, he just one-shots it. I didn't even have the Ascension Gem there when he one-shotted it, actually. Oh my god, or one-shot it, rather. Holy crap. Then he flexes his pecs, as usual. And so here, I mean, you can see I make another redemption. I'm just trying to get as much long fight stuff as possible. I think I end up losing a fight here because I have Ascension, because I just have him stuck in the corner. Like, he's trying his best. He did 3,880 damage there. 3,451. Holy. But yeah, you said that's when I'm like, okay, I cannot corner this guy. It's not worth it. I'm just going to get mowed over if I do. And so here, again, we're just looking for a long fight. And so, Malicious Monetization, Duo Q. I don't really need the 5 cost. I'll get there eventually. I already have a lot of money. And so I'm looking a little at Epitaph, I think, because it's just really, like, crazy value, right? When you think about how Epitaph works, you know, you get a bunch, like, a big max HP shield on anyone as soon as someone next to them dies. And I know that I'm playing a bunch of Bruisers the entire game. It just ends up being very good value. And so every resource here, every resource here is a huge upside and, like, basically no downside, right? They all just play this idea of make the fight longer, let Mundo ascend. And this is like a very... I'm not trying to... This is not like a very hard game to navigate, or to like a very impressive game or anything. It's just like a good example of a game where, like, just keeping in mind what it is you're actually trying to play around. Also I think I'm trying to look for 6 Bruiser and I just can't find it. I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah, there it is, finally. I end up finding it. Because I know that I probably can't go right to 9 without losing a little bit too much oomph. I end up putting everything on Urgot, though, instead of going... Oh, I do put Gunblade and Vex. Okay. Do I put the other things on Urgot? I probably shouldn't, but I think I do. Oh, no, I do put... Okay, yeah. You want to keep... Okay, Rageblade should be on Vex there as well, though. Oh, no, because I have Sponging. That's fine. I'm getting lost in the sauce. Yeah, I mean, we're just made a fight. We have a nice long fight. Gunblade helps a little bit. Gunblade is, like, a little bit worse, just in general, for, like, its actual effect on a Bruiser board, because it does worse when it's trying to heal something with a ton of HP versus something with a ton of resistances, because it's a flat heal, right? So if you heal a unit with 100 HP, but 10,000 armor and MR, you're healing for a much higher percentage of their effective HP than you are, you know, a unit with, like, 10,000 HP and 2 armor and MR. If you're healing both of them for 100, that is. Which, that's how Gunblade works, that it heals for a flat amount. So, generally speaking, Gunblade not great on Bruiser boards, but it just works on Vex really well, and it's good item economy here. And it still does play pretty lightly, or at least slightly, into the way we want to play the fight regardless. And so, items are still on Mundo. I'm playing around with this idea of, like, of all the units on this board that can 1v10 at the end of a fight, Mundo is far and away the one that does it best. Even better than this Cho'Gath, right? Because some people, I think, in chat were asking why not put items on Cho'Gath. One is Cho'Gath 1. And so it's just worse than Mundo 2 anyways, but, like, Mundo is just a more consistent way to win a fight at the end of the game with Ascension Gem, because Cho can just, like, be turned around on something and miss, and then, like, he does like a lot less damage with the HP than Mundo does. Mundo does like infinitely more damage with the Ascension Gem. And so, you know, it's one thing at a time, but that's a totally fine thing. And so I think we end up just like ascending in every fight. I mean, look at these fights. How do you kill any of this with all these redemptions? And, you know, it's just like how do you do anything here? So I think the thing to start thinking about, and what I'm worried about here a bit, is how do I cap, right? Because there are some people who are really strong in this lobby. I'm doing a terrible job scouting this game. But also, let's watch this fight first, actually. This Bruiser versus Bruiser fight. I think this is funny. Chugbug is trying really hard. He's trying super duper hard. I really was a master on the camera in this game. But you can see Mundo in the corner there about to ascend and just absolutely rock this board. Ready? Ready? There you go. Oh! And it's over. And then he's just gonna one-shot everything. And you can see, like Cho'Gath wouldn't do that. He'd take a lot longer to actually one-shot things, and, like, it's just, again, he's honestly just kind of a worksheet, at least with his item setup, with, like, the Ceres and stuff. Like, he'll do significantly less damage. So, yeah, just be aware of that before you just, like, move items willy-nilly. What's actually doing things. I think I make a crown, or an even shroud. I think I'm trying to figure out how to do it, because while, like, still maintaining all my redemptions. And it does work out just fine. I think this ends up being Mundo versus Shaco at the end of the fight. And we just have another fight where Mundo does Mundo things. And again, this is Mundo too. Absolutely cracked unit. Absolutely cracked unit. And that's just like, even though this Mundo is pretty cracked, but with this Mundo is like an actual carry through the entire game as a 2-star unit. I actually end up carrying almost to the end of the game, I think. So that stage is not too much more interest. There's not too much more interest in that stage. So everyone gets some juice. We get a Radiant Refractor, and so here I think there's two options, right? And so these are two interactions I'm thinking about. So Spudging cannot take a Radiant item first off. So there's no argument for, like, you know, make whichever one you want to trade around the Radiant one, and then you'll just get Radiant Decline. Everyone doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But how it does work is that whatever item I don't pick here will go to the people. Will go to people around Mundo, because that'll be the only like acceptable item for Sponging to take. And so the other thing is you know, do I think the lobby is mostly magic damage, or do I think the lobby is mostly mixed damage? So my lack of scouting this game ends up kind of like reaching a critical mass here, and that for some reason I just think the whole lobby's AP. You know, do I even look around before I do it? I have to like select last second, and in my mind, I've been scouting this game, and like the whole lobby's AP, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy's AP, perfect. And so I take Declaw, but you know, spoiler alert, like a lot of the lobby's actually physical, which makes this a little bit worse, I'd say, than Sterak's. And the thing is, even if the lobby was all AP, it's arguably better to just get the Declaw on like more units. So, you know, I think that definitely lowers our cap a little bit. And a lot of this end game is going to be talking about why I actually don't win this game. A couple things I do wrong to make this game not a win, and how like resting on my laurels off of my high rolls this game made me just go second. So as far as winning the game goes, I think there's a few things to be thinking about. I think that I probably want to go 10. I think I could potentially 3-star or 4 cost. Because I have a lot of money now, right? And I have a ton of HP to work with, so I'm not really under any threat to roll. I shouldn't need to roll at all. And so here I'm scouting around like, oh, wait a second. Like, a lot of lobbies actually AD. And the big thing here, and this is actually maybe an important concept to talk about too, is that when you are playing for a win out, and you have that like itemization moment, you can select something that's better into AD or better into AP, you should always select the one that you think the guy who's going second, potentially, or going top 2 with you, is. So here, because I know that like likely that guy is playing Martian Vanguard, he's second in HP, he's looking very strong, has a lot of room to grow, because he's probably going second, I should always be itemizing a way to be better into physical damage rather than magic damage this game, which was a big mistake. Definitely affects the cap. Really, that is for when you are like 90 HP win streaking and know that you can just play for top, like you're guaranteed top 2, right? And so you're just trying to guess who's going to be there with you. That's a really important concept. Which I did not do super well this game. Alright, and so, I mean, we still have a thing on Mundo. I mean, he's still doing his thing. He's one tanky guy. I think we end up losing some fights on this stage, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure Mundo dies here before he ascends. Maybe he doesn't. Does he? Oh, he does, just barely. But we're basically at this point in the game, and this is an important thing for capping out, is that this is something I did well this game, is that I shouldn't be rolling here ever because I don't need to, right? I'm under no pressure to get stronger immediately because I have nothing to hit right now. Like I say, I have like Cho'Gath 2 to hit, like Urgot 2 and stuff, but I don't need to be hitting anyone. I have a lot of room to grow if I just get to 10, or even just like roll more on 9. But this game I have so much gold and so much room that I'm probably just going 10. So I play this guy, and this is where I'm like, oh crap, wait, this guy's really strong. This is probably a bad person not to have itemized against. I just take more frontline, right? Just get even more, or I try to. I think the Warmogs gets snatched from me actually, and so I end up going Nashers, which is fine. Not great, but it's fine. Starting to fill up my backline a bit. I think this guy actually manages to not. Yeah, look at this fight. I am Mundo 2 versus capped, or not fully capped, but like relatively capped 7 Street Demon. He's just doing his thing. He's just doing his thing. And what's that? He's gonna live and ascend? Boom! It is really close though, actually. That last redemption proc totally saved his life. But now he just has like 10,000 HP. Declaw's healing him for, you can see, 1,685 like every couple seconds. And there's no way they can ever kill this guy anymore. It's just totally impossible. Another fight where I think Mundo just doesn't die, if I remember correctly. I think he's just like totally unkillable. Yeah. He ascends and then everything just starts dropping. See, hit. I think actually he might almost die in this fight. I feel like I remember him almost dying in this fight. Boom, because the healing is reduced a lot in overtime. Okay, no, he's not even almost dying. He has so much HP. Oh my god. And so, I mean, once you judge that you're strong enough to just go 10, you go 10. And so here's where I start to like really mess up, because so here, we can pause here. So I think when you're in the situation where there's two people who are really strong, big things to look out for is you have to stop them from 3-starring things. And you have to have like a good idea of how your fight plays into their fight. And so I already messed up with the Declaw, and so that's going to lower my cap in this fight a lot. But you can see him holding a Xayah, and while like it's not super likely he'll get Xayah 3, I should be aware of that. I should be keeping an eye on it, and I don't. I know that I want a 3-star Vex this game because it's just a 3-star 4 cost that I think will cap me out. You hit another Vex, I end up going 10, I think, here. I end up going 10 a little bit early, even. I think I go 10 probably a little bit too early here, right? Yeah, so I end up playing Street Demon. So the reason why you play Street Demon here, by the way, over anything else, is that think about where the value on the board is, right? The value on the board is entirely on this Mundo, and so the most impactful thing for this fight, or for my fight, is just making sure Mundo lives to Ascension. That's been the plan the whole game, right? And the best thing for making that happen is not like a bunch of 5 costs that when I don't have them. And this is why I was willing to go 10, actually, rather than just like rolling 9, is that I think similar to playing like a Zac 2 and like a Garen 2 or something on this board, if I just play 3 Street Demon and eventually get into higher unit quality and like roll for Vex 3 and stuff, it's similar. It's like very similar strength, while being more consistent without having to hit in your roll down and any kind of roll down, because this is 12% max HP in my Mundo, which is just it's such a massive diff, right? It's actually such a humongous diff on this Mundo to get that much HP. So that is to say that play around your biggest pieces of value. When you're in a situation where you're trying to figure out what the next thing to make your board stronger is, just say, okay, well, what am I trying to do with my fight? And how do I make that better? And so in this situation, it's just, give your whole board like a bunch of extra bonus HP and let Mundo ascend. That's the whole goal, right? Something that is really awkward with this, though, is how it interacts with like Epitaph and how it interacts with redemptions and sponging. And I think I end up getting like super dizzy here, and I like for a few rounds in a row, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I think maybe I win this. I might lose it. But I have no idea what I'm doing in terms of positioning for a bit. I think I end up like giving items to weird people for some reason. I'm pretty sure it gets messed up a little bit. I think I end up losing this just barely, right? Yeah. I do have a lot of gold though. I still know I'm looking for Vex 3. That guy was 5. So they have now 5 Xayahs, and I'm still not thinking about holding. I'm like kind of thinking about holding Xayah, but I'm like, no, it's not a priority because I'm like, there's no way they hit, right? In my mind, which is. Like, to an extent, they probably shouldn't hit from 0 gold here, and 5 Xayahs, but it's important to make sure that if it's not at any cost to me that I'm holding them. I don't have to look for them yet, but on my roll down for Vex, I should definitely be looking for them, or be holding them as I see them, right? So I lost last fight. I'm still kind of I'm like trying to figure out how to get these guys all in the hexes, because I like the problem with getting them all in the hexes. I have a Samira on the front line. The problem with getting them all in the hexes is that I'm like, well, then the sponging value gets really awkward because it's not guaranteed to be redemptions. So I'm just a little lost. I'm just like, I'm guaranteed top 2 anyways. It's fine. I'm just gonna figure this out for a second. I think I ended up playing this guy and winning even this time around. And this is still Mundo 2, by the way. I don't have Cho 2 yet. If I had Cho 2, I might have moved items, but Mundo 2 is just, again, kind of gonna get the most value out of everything here. So this ends up coming down to the wire, but I think I actually do end up winning this fight. Yeah, because you can see, like, the Mundo is just so hard to kill now. Really, really good thing into a meta where, like, Brand is very popular. Yeah, now he's just gonna... I think he ends up killing the entire board. It's actually pretty close, but I think he kills the entire board here, which is so gross. You see, look at the numbers. Ready? 9,612 damage. Holy crap. Mundo ends up being like 0 MR here, or armor, and like it gets really close to him dying, but he ends up just autoing Ziggs to death. He did... Look at the damage! Wait. He did 70,918 damage that fight. And so I'm not too worried about Garen. I'm not too worried about their 5 costs. I'm just kind of thinking about, okay, how do I make this unit live? Which I think I probably should be. In my mind, though, there's like 2 things to do. Because again, you want to do it like, you want to cap on the easiest way, generally speaking, because it's just, it gets to make the game easier and more enjoyable, but also it's like the least chance for messing it up. And so in my mind, I just need to hit Vex 3 and I win the game. And so I'm not too worried about holding these other 5 costs. I'm not like that interested. I know I have Kobuko to hit, I have Cho 2 to hit, and I have Vex 3 to hit, right? So I have in Urgot 2. So I have a very high cap here if I just keep playing this exact board and get stronger. And I'm already on like par. I'm just like a little bit behind strength of the Marksman guy and a little bit stronger than the Brand guy right now, right? So I don't need to get that much stronger. There's no real point trying to think about all these like fitting Auroras and Viegos, and Viego kind of sucks right now, but like no point trying to think about fitting all these things in when I have a much clearer way to cap that will make me less dizzy and guarantee that I am getting stronger. Again, the guiding light for that is just keep in mind how your fight works. Whenever you're worried about how to cap out, keep in mind of like what you're trying to accomplish and make that better, right? So like 3 Street Demon here makes the fight a lot better. 2 Techie even makes the fight a lot better because there's also damage reduction on that, right? So I know I can hit Brand and put that on the board while getting 3 Street Demon. I think I might skip this guy. No, but I do buy him. I was looking out for him. I said Kobuko 2, which also makes it... I think I skipped an Urgot. Holy, I think I was just digging for the dude. I'm also dizzy as hell, you can see. I don't know why I was so dizzy this game, but I was very dizzy this game. Yeah, and I ended up just like selling Samira because like Samira versus Zyra, she just costs more gold and it makes it harder to hit the Vex 3, so not too much worth there, I would say. I'm never itemizing her, so she's kind of worthless. Definitely have held that Urgot, but... You know, and so they still have 5 Zayas. I'm 1 Vex off of Vex 3, and I know that that's probably the way I win this game, because I think this fight is really awkward now that I already committed to the Declaw over the Sterix, because there's like no way this Mundo's ever living to Ascension, I would say. It's just not happening. And so now like the way I win this is no longer like Mundo lives to Ascension, it's that I just hit Vex 3 in my mind, right? That's how it works. And so we just chill. We do hit the Vex. Okay, I spoiled it. Sorry. We do hit the Vex 3. And so I should be holding Zayas in that roll down. I think I hit... We could look through it again, but I'm pretty sure I hit at least 1 Zaya. I hit like a double Urgot shop. And so, I mean, being on Vex 3 means that this next fight versus the Brand player is very easy. And so it's me versus this guy. I don't know if... I mean, I should be scouting. Am I scouting? Hello? Also here, I think another thing I mess up, I don't do this immediately. I probably should have the Ascension Gem on Kobuko now. I think a big thing in this spot is that I just kind of assumed I was going to win the game because I had Vex 3. Spoiler alert, again, I don't. I actually... We can watch this next fight, but... Talk about some other things I could have done. So he has 8 Zayas now, which is a lot of Zayas. And a lot of Zayas. But the funny thing is, it didn't even matter because watch this next fight. This Vex is not the most impactful unit in the world, this fight, I will say. We can take this one in. And you can see my like I'm trying to get value out of sponging still, but it's super awkward with Street Demon with the Street Demon Hex formation. Like there's an argument for like getting out of Street Demon and just saying like, you know, I just want to play around not that. Also, did you see how much damage that Vex ult did to that Leona? It ate up a Vex 3 ult. Wait, look at this. Look at that. It did 800 damage. He just ate 2 of them. What the heck? You know, Vex 3 might just suck. Vex 3 might just suck. But I end up, so I lose that fight. I end up moving items to Kobuko because I'm like, okay, maybe this can do something. Ascension Gem I put on Vex because maybe she ascends. There was a long fight last time, right? And so I'm thinking like maybe she ascends and it's fine. They have Xayah 3 now though, so it's looking a little bit cooked, I would say. So some things I did wrong in this endgame, right? I want to talk about it. We talked about a lot of it already, I guess, but first, identifying who was going to be in top 2 with me and itemizing accordingly was really important. Making sure I was holding Xayah's was going to be really important, because I think I do win that fight with Ascension Gem on Vex for what it's worth if I'm holding Xayah's, but I'm not. And so that's probably the most damning thing. Two, just like, I think one thing that went right was the idea of just like, putting more units in based on how I want to play the fight. And then once you identify that, like, okay, I can't win the fight from playing a long fight anymore because they just do too much damage, I'm just going to play around Vex 3, making sure that, you recognize that you can play around a 3-star 4 cost that game. Because I think I think even on, like level 8, I was considering playing Vex 3 that game. And then, yeah, making sure that you're just, like, your head is in the game and you're paying attention to what people are doing. Because, I think, too, like, I could probably positioned a lot better. I wasn't too sure. I was in kind of a frantic mode. I wasn't too sure how I should position these fights, and maybe some other positioning, like trying to find some way to get this redemption in a Street Demon Hex could have been helpful. Like, there's a lot of awkwardness here that I think came from, actually, you even think about Street Demon, right? Street Demon certainly makes the fight longer, but maybe it's not good enough. Maybe it's like too hard to position around sponging with Street Demon, and you can't do it. I'm not too sure. It's one of those things where, like, I think the biggest thing, like the most glaring thing, is that I knew I was going top 2 and I didn't properly play around who was going to go top 2 with me and make sure that I was stopping them from going top 2 as well. Other than that, Mundo looked really good the whole game. If you have Ascension Gem in Mundo, you can definitely, like, I would say most of the time you won't be fast 10ing. It was just kind of like a sponging diff this game. But, you can definitely fast 8, fast 9 off of it, play into Cho'Gath. It's very, very good through stage 2 and 3 when fights are extra slow and most of the damage is just coming out, at a snail's pace. And so, yeah, hopefully you find a line for it. In your end games, make sure that you do better than I did here. Right? Make sure you identify who's going to be, when you're really high roll like that, when you're really far ahead, make sure you identify who is top 2 with you. Make sure you make sure you itemize around them, right? So if I have Radiant Sterix there, maybe I win those fights, right? Over the Declaw. If I end up like getting a Bramble or something along the way because I recognize it, I don't know if there's an opportunity to, but there could have been, then maybe there's more room to cap out as well. And so there are a lot of things that I could have done better here too, because I was aware of who you can say almost with certain, like, absolute certainty that that's the person you're likely to play at the end of the game, and so it's worth just playing around it, because worst case scenario, I think some of the comments might say I would have probably lost to the brand guy with Radiant Sterix over Radiant Declaw, but I can also just roll a 9 then, right? I can roll a 9 instead and then beat that guy. If I feel like I can't win both fights, then I can just roll a 9 and guarantee a top 2 as well. And rolling on 9 isn't too bad here as well, because I can just hit like Cho 2, I can hit Kobuko 2 sooner, and then, on Cho 2, Kobuko 2 sooner, and maybe even Vex 3 sooner without going 10. I'm going to be winning that fight regardless. And so it was just more inconsistent, I would say, just in general. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. I think we're going to do more VOD reviews like this because they're just a little bit easier to engage with the game in. There was like a bunch of comments on the last video too that I wanted to. The problem is, I felt like if I answered one of them, I have to answer all of them, and I've been sick, and it's been hard to have the mental bandwidth to respond while I'm sick. So hopefully this answers more questions about games and show you some games that, again, like, this is a very winnable game that I fucked up, and it's an important game to look at if you want to make sure that you're at one, finding spots to fast 8, fast 9, fast 10. You shouldn't fast 10, generally speaking, but also games to look at, like a good game to look at if you just want to get better at capping out and winning games. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll catch you next time.